American allies, threatening perceived political enemies at home. Those are just some of the ways President Trump has spent his first 99 days in office. Ahead of tomorrow's hyped-up benchmark, the White House is choosing to focus on immigration. Border Czar Tom Homan took an early morning victory lap in front of reporters earlier today, highlighting the plunge in illegal border crossings over the last 3 months. But as we've been reporting, the administration's crackdowns on undocumented immigrants who are already in the U.S. has come with plenty of problems. My colleague Priscilla Alvarez asked Tom Homan about a mother who was deported over the weekend with her young children who are U.S. citizens. Here's how Homan responded.
If you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision, parenting 101. The mothers made that choice. And I tell you what, if we didn't do it, the story today would be Trump administration separating families again. No, we're keeping families together. Parents will make the decision what happens to their child. Having a U.S. citizen child does not make you immune from our laws.
I'm joined here by a terrific group of reporters today. CNN's John King, Jackie Kucinich of the Boston Globe, Jeff Mason of Reuters, and CNN's Priscilla Alvarez, who again is the one who asked Tom Homan that question. I want to, as we start this discussion, as we are talking a lot about the first 100 days, let's just start where the White House wants to start, which is immigration, because they obviously think, as we mentioned, all the issues, this is the best one. But even the best one, they're struggling. This is the CNN poll that came out 24 hours ago. Look at this. Right now, it's only 45% approval on immigration. Back in March, it was 51%. So it is going down, John.
Some of it is the what he's doing, and some of it is the how he is doing it when you travel the country. Broadly, the president has a pretty long leash when it comes to let's get tougher at the border, let's deport criminals. He's fine there. The issue is when you start making mistakes and deporting people who aren't supposed to be deported, or I would also posit in my travels in the country, in places where he did better with Latinos, there's fear in the community. They think he's going to overreach. They think he's going to come for people. Again, I know some people at home will say too bad, but there are a lot of undocumented who are doing work, who have support in their community, who, yes, they did break the law when they came into the country, but they haven't done anything wrong since. And a lot of people say, well, why would you go after them? So the debate continues. And so broadly, this is the president's best issue, sure. But when you get into the nuts and bolts of how he's doing it and how it impacts certain communities, that's when you get the dents. And you do see a drop in his support among Latinos, which is a big part of his sweeping the battlegrounds.
Yeah.
And you do see some damage there.
And on that note, there's a new lengthy piece from The Atlantic out this morning, which includes a new interview with the president. And one of the questions is, what would happen, we asked, this is The Atlantic, if his administration accidentally got the wrong person, a legal resident, or even an American citizen? This was obviously before the weekend events. Let me tell you that nothing will ever be perfect in this world, is how the president responded.
I think what was also telling is thereafter there's another quote from the president saying, well, they're all bad guys, they're all dangerous people. But today, one of the headlines is that there are children, U.S. citizen children, who have been removed from the United States with their mothers. Now, that was part of the question that I was asking the White House border czar, who said, look, it was up to the mother to leave. But the point of how they're doing it is so critical here, because when you look through these court filings, the attorneys are saying, sure, the mother decided to do that, but she didn't have a chance to speak to anyone. She spoke very briefly to the father. Now you have a 4-year-old who's in Honduras who has stage 4 cancer. I mean, they don't have their medications. And so
the 4-year-old.
The 4-year-old. And so as these stories pile up, that's when I think you start to see the outrage build. Wait a minute, those people weren't bad guys, and these mothers in this case were going for their routine check-ins. They weren't necessarily just at home in some raid.
Let's take a step back. And Jeff Mason, you are at the White House every day when you're not here at the table. And I just want to talk about the CNN poll and also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other polls that have come out in the last few days. And they are consistent, and we can put this up on the screen, and they're consistently not good for the president. Now, we know what they say in public. We also know how they, especially the president, feel in private. So that's the overall. And as I bring you in, there is one issue where he is not underwater, meaning where he is above 50%. And the only issue there is, and this is in the CNN poll, is on gender identity. All of the other issues, including immigration, which again, the White House thinks is pretty good, are bad for President Trump.
Couple things. Number one, I think that the White House, obviously any White House cares about polls, so this is not what they want to see. But they will dismiss them because all White Houses also dismiss polls when they're not going in the direction that they want them to go. Number two, I actually in this case believe the dismissal to the extent that even bad polling is not going to have an impact on them implementing the agenda that they absolutely feel is the one that they want and should be doing. It's the one that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. I was in a briefing last week with a couple senior officials who were talking about the next 100 days, and one of those officials said it was like living in a dreamscape every day because they're making their conservative dreams come true every day on all of these issues. So there's not going to be any backtracking just because of a handful of bad polling.
Well, I interviewed the president's agriculture secretary yesterday. We were talking mostly about tariffs and how it impacts farmers, and we did talk more broadly about the fact that the president's approval rating is really suffering.
This president has never, ever governed by poll. And I just saw those same numbers too, so I haven't had a chance to dig in. But the second thing is that there are 100 different polls that say 100 different things. At the end of the day, President Trump is resolutely focused on ensuring that we are realigning the American economy to put Americans first.
And Jackie, as I bring you in, let's talk about the economy. Again, this is in the CNN poll. His approval on the economy is 39%. Back in March, which was a month ago, it was 44%. And the thing to keep in mind is that this is about not how he's sort of moving an economy that's happening around him. It's what he is doing to the economy with his policies.
Exactly. And when you think about, and you go back to why this president was elected, a lot of voters told us it was because of the economy. They missed the Trump economy that marked the last administration, or they remember from the last administration, which is why they decided to throw in with him again. And now, because of a lot of this is uncertainty. Just because businesses don't know how to plan, farmers don't know how to plan. They don't know what the next 100 days are going to look like because they don't know what the tariff rates are going to be, how they're going to be able to conduct their business, if they're going to be able to conduct their businesses, from small businesses all the way on up to Home Depot. So really, if that is the line, if he was supposed to be the economy president, people aren't happy.
Go back to the first 100 days of the first Trump term and see how many of these conversations were that his problems are because of so many self-inflicted wounds. This tariff debate, the disruption as he's called in the economy, is on him. Is on him. Whether people out there who support the tariffs, who don't support the tariffs, they're like, Mr. President, make up your mind. It can't be there's tariffs on Monday, they're in place for 3 days, then we're taking them back, then we're going to. Businesses can't plan, but Trump says a lot of things that are not true. That's a fact. You can say a lot of things that your voters maybe believe for a long time. You can't tell people whether they voted for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris that the price of eggs dropped 82%, because it hasn't. They're going into the grocery store. Their prices are not down, and some prices are actually going up, and there's disruption in their communities because of this tariff debate. So he was elected because people thought the cost of living was too high. And again, we're only 100 days in. He deserves some time, but the disruption he has caused, if there's going to be prices coming down, he is making it worse at the moment, not better.
I want to go back to one thing that you touched on, John, which is some of his key voting groups that helped him win the election, win the White House back. We have some numbers that I think are really telling. White, non-college educated voters, those are the sort of core Trump voters, he's down 8 points just since February. Young people, who he did well with, down 6. Non-white voters, down 10%. Independents, down 12%. Is that what you're finding as you travel the country?
Yes, and again, sometimes we try to divide people too much, right? How is he doing with the Trumpy-Trump voters? How's he doing with the soft Republicans who don't really like him, and how he conducts himself, but they're Republicans by DNA, young people, whatever. The Democrats lost the last election because a broad swath of Americans in just about every group did not think, A, their president was visible, number one, and he wasn't dealing with their biggest issue, which is the cost of living. This president is ever present in their lives, and they see him all the time, but he is not dealing as fast as he promised. Remember, he said prices would go down on day one. Again, there's a lot of hyperbole with President Trump. You have to give him some grace. But their life experience is not better. They're not feeling better in the ways they want to feel better. And he's the President of the United States, so he's down with everybody.
And having been on the Harris campaign, they were going after those young voters aggressively. So to see the drop there is interesting, because what they were trying to tell young voters is remind them of what Trump was before, because they hadn't experienced it in the same way. And so it's interesting to see those numbers now as they've experienced it.
It's the same funk that got him elected. The country is in a funk. And most of it is cost of living and the feeling that this town doesn't work in a way that's relevant to their lives. And they feel the same way now than when they elected him, except he's in the office now.
And he is focused on what you said that your sources call a dreamscape, that they've got the power, they're not afraid to use it this time.